And our final with our Wizard of Oz expose. Here today. Why don't you say? So we have Penny and Victoria here. Boy, we've been busy this morning. It has been a little chaotic. So today we wanted to wrap up with Steven's idea, which was, I've never seen Wizard of Oz. I don't know.
Are you?
I'm not a movie guy. I hate movies. They take too long. I don't watch movies. But
maybe
he said
if
something.
You split them up into 30-minute blocks. It'll be like a.
He said, over an 8-day period.
Were you ever a child?
I watched SportsCenter and BET.
Right, that's right.
Which are both 30 minutes and sports games.
I had it right. I knew him.
Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. He said something about a curtain.
Yeah.
Explain.
So the wizard.
Paint it vividly.
Right.
For me
so
here.
The Wizard of Oz is sort of more like he creates a vision and whatever, and he has machines and gadgets, and he's behind a curtain. So they think this wizard is some big, terrifying, scary guy, but he's just really good with special effects.
Yeah, they think he's like all powerful.
Yeah, they think he's this all powerful being, and he's really just a man.
It really
behind
took out.
the curtain.
Yeah, he's just a man behind the curtain working the switches.
Right.
The whole time is just this little old man.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound dumb. Is that where the phrase came from? This man behind the curtain?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say so.
Man behind the curtain today. What we're talking about is how not only clients, but companies lie. It's whether it be for personal gain, for profit, there is a whole lot of untruthfulness in this industry. So, let's start. It's going to be funny. Let's start with this here. Victoria, when's the last time you've been lied to by a client?
Well, first of all, I can't believe you didn't at least Google Wizard of Oz, but that's another subject for another day.
I ain't got time.
When have I been lied to?
But yeah, by a customer. How recent?
Within the last 24 hours.
Yep. Penny, what about you?
Yeah, within the last 2 days. 2 days for me. I got lucky 2 days.
Yesterday morning was mine. Now, again, to remember here, there's a difference between lying and there's a difference between not knowing and there's a difference between fibbing. We're not going to take dishonest. You might have just brushed over a question. But like for my example here, I was talking to one of my policyholders and I was like, hey, man, anything changed health-wise in the past year? And he's like, no, I've been great. Everything's been good. And then I get to the second health question. And he goes, well, I did have chemo in June, July, August, and September. I was like, well, I'm glad that was the third question of the application. But to just have something to where, and it's kind of funny because some of the newer people here, they struggle with it. They're like, well, they didn't tell me that when I was on the phone. They didn't tell me that. It's like, well, because they know that they don't have to. Somehow, in your voice, what you're saying. But when we talk about behind the curtain, just want to get your guys, not opinions, but almost kind of stories. Why do you think people lie to insurance agents?
Well, I think sometimes they lie because they think if they don't tell you, then it's not your fault or whatever. They didn't involve you in their plan to get a cheaper rate on a new. They don't realize that the underwriting process isn't just what you tell the agent on the questions. It's actually they're going to get medical records and the minimum report and they'll find out anyway. But I think they think if they don't tell the agent, then, she didn't even know. And then they might get by with it somehow and get the lower rate on their same, whatever their plan is. And I think sometimes they just don't understand what the doctors told them. And they actually don't realize, no, you have a heart condition.
It's like, no, you're sick.
Right.
You're not.
They think they had this one little
healthy.
Silly thing that happened, but I've never had that again.
A little AFib.
It's that's why these 3 medications are here. So you don't have that again. But, and I think some people just don't understand whatever they have, their conditions.
I think there's a false sense of the word healthy.
It's all relative.
And a lot of what goes on, because there's healthy, then there's underwriting healthy,
right?
And then there's not healthy. I mean, that's really the 3. I want to ask you too. Why do you think why do you think people lie about conditions or
Well,
treatments.
yeah, well, various reasons. But my specific case yesterday, where when one of the apprentices asked the client if they had any health issues, and she said, "No, I'm perfectly healthy, very, very healthy, excellent, wonderful." Well, by the time I got her, I asked it in such a way. Well, it came out she had a stroke 2 months ago, and prior to that, I had asked her, "Oh, so you want to save money moving your supplement from one company to another? Have you had experience moving before?" "Oh, yeah, I moved a few times before." So when it came out that she had a stroke, I know good and well that she was familiar with what the underwriting process was, and in that particular case, I felt that she maybe was hoping the underwriting was just taking you at your word, and she could just glaze over that, but to me, I felt like guilt got the better of her, and she admitted that she had had a stroke.
I think to make it, I mean, not funny, but we equate a lot of stuff to dating. It's just it's an easy thing to kind of compare it to. I compare it to like nowadays. I didn't have to do this. I'm too old for this. But like you talk about like Tinder, things like that. Okay.
I think it's called Tinder instead of. I think you're thinking about lunch. Tender.
It's not a Tindy, it's a dating app. But with a lot of these dating apps, you look at the jokes that people make that are like, oh, he said he was 6'4". He shows up and he's 5'10", or he said he was 6'6", but he's really 6'2". Or he said he was 6 foot, but he's 5'8".
That's
a lot of this stuff here.
Right,
it's like why are you lying?
Yeah.
And it's because you want to make yourself look better than you think you do. There's some false thing in your head that says maybe if I put I'm 6 foot instead of 5'10", maybe somebody will find me more attractive.
That's absolutely true.
That's what I equate when we talk to, I don't want to say customers lying to us, but just fibbing about health conditions and things like that is they just have a false image in their head. Well, I think I'm healthy, but they're actually blocking off their brain from saying you're not healthy. You have thought yourself into this existence where you think, man, I'm doing great. Ever since I got my defibrillator in, I've been doing great. And it's like, well, that's terrific that you got that procedure done and you now have this mechanism that runs your heart and it works flawlessly. Awesome. That does not mean you're Lance Armstrong now.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you're invincible. You have a defibrillator in. You have something that is making your heart work because your brain can't. You have to take that into your ideas and into your well-being. Because when you say, yeah, man, I'm super healthy, and you've got a defibrillator, you're not healthy, man. You might be living, but you're not living healthy. One of the ladies that me and Justice just talked to, that, boy, that's going to end up being a 3-hour phone call by the time we're done. So we're still talking to her. I've made her do an A&B presentation. But, you have some of these ideas. Like I told the story because we were talking about the difference between, she's on original Medicare, and then we're talking about supplements, we're talking about Advantage plans, just talking about everything. And I used the story of my guy who passed away after his lung transplant. And, you talk about some of these false pretenses here, these curtains. So I told her the story. I had a guy who signed up for a Plan G, and he had it for a few years, and then he had to get a lung transplant. Do you know what she said? Kind of made me mad a little bit too.
What?
So I said, yeah, he had to get a lung transplant. And she goes, he shouldn't have smoked.
Ooh,
and I go, he didn't.
Ugh.
He actually had cancer, and they had to cut out a part of his lung. And how bad do you think she felt?
Pretty bad.
She felt so bad because there's that curtain there for her. You got lung cancer. Oh, you smoked. Oh, I bet you ripped cigs like nobody. You were smoking inside.
Right.
I bet the walls of your house were white when you bought them, and now they're yellow. That's the image that she has in her head when she thinks lung cancer.
Yeah.
And I got offended by it. I was like, actually, he did not. Not everybody that has lung cancer smokes. That's just like if you get in a vehicle accident, not everybody's drunk driving.
Right.
Things happen. You get in a car accident when you were completely sober.
And I think that's why some people lie, because they think they're going to be judged. Like him with the defibrillator. And just like in dating, and I've had it happen, specific examples where I'm not into smokers and somebody says on their profile, non-smoker, I go meet them they stink like smoke and they're smoking. I'm like, what happened to that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want you to think I was unhealthy. I'm like, but you're taking the decision away from me. You're being dishonest. That's what ticks. And then it just made it all worse. Than if he had been forthcoming, right? And it's the same thing too. These people will lie about their health because they think, oh well, maybe if they see it, they'll see all the other questions that I said no to. That I'm they'll just let it pass through. They'll be okay with it. It's not the case.
I think not only is it some type of falsehood, but it's also they want to perceive themselves as better.
Mm-hmm.
Than
Right.
Wishful
Right.
thinking.
Sometimes they're, wishful thinking, just thinking that. And I think some of these people, when you ask, are you pretty healthy? If you just say, are you pretty healthy? Or are you healthy? Then some of them, I think it's conversational, like you would tell some neighbor or somebody you ran into at the grocery store you haven't seen in a while.
You been? Yeah.
Oh, I've been doing fine. I'm fine. I've been doing real good.
Even though you're crying on the inside. Right.
But they're not saying, oh, but I'm fine now compared to the stroke I had 2 months ago.
Yeah. My
But they
husband's
don't say
leaving
all
me,
of
my
that.
kids
Yeah.
hate me, but I'm fine. It's
That's what
fine.
we have a saying in our house when somebody's feeling poopy.
Oh, do tell.
Or depressy or sad. Or if they have seasonal, what's the seasonal one that's coming in now?
Seasonal affective disorder.
Oh, yeah.
Seasonal affective disorder. They're sad. We do it's fine, everything. I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And be like, okay, that means it's not fine.
Not fine.
Right.
That's
How's everything going? Oh, everything's fine. No, it ain't.
Right.
It's terrible. You hate something. Everybody hates something. They wish they could improve something, be better at something. Everybody hates something.
Mm-hmm.
You can be good at the moment, but not everything is always and forever good. It's not how life works. So that's for the customer side. Now let's talk about company side here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Grip was too afraid to talk about. I would love to talk about it. And we actually had a good thing today because we had a carrier rep come in and was telling us all about dental products, and I got to fill you guys in on that too here later on when everybody's off the phone before the end of the day. Some really cool stuff. But there are times when carriers lie.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, they sure do. They do. So when's
Today.
What happened today?
Well, I had one where, well, I just think they didn't want to say it, but I had the policy owner on the phone. We called the company to see what their new rate increase is for her for January. So they should have been able to tell her that. But they said, oh, no, we don't have that yet. We'll send something out in 30 to 45 days. And I'm like, you'll have to call back and check again,
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they did have that information available. I just think they didn't want to tell her because they don't want her to move. She said, well, I'm shopping around, but I need to know what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
The lady said that after they said, we don't have that and we can't tell you that. I think they can.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Victoria?
The one, this was years ago when I was, I'll give an example when I was a newbie agent where clearly a health carrier's qualification said something about that, there was no issue with them taking an inhaler for asthma. That's all it was for. They declined them due to having respiratory disease. And I called the carrier, questioned them on it. And they tried to give me some BS answer. I felt at the time I was right, but I was too new and not confident in myself to push forward. Mm-hmm. But looking back at that now, as a tenured agent, I should have pushed even further and escalated it up. But at the time, I was so naive, and I thought, oh, surely they wouldn't lie to me. But I learned that that's not always the case.
When it comes to underwriters, I view it in two different ways. Number one, I have personal vendettas against some underwriters. I'm not afraid to say their names and the company they work at. I don't know if I can, so that's why I won't. But there is one guy at Manhattan Life that if he sounds like he's been smoking with Snoop Dogg.
Mhm.
He is just on that reefer, that boy. And when he answers, he's like, "Hey, this is
God,
Jacob.
do you hate your
Manhattan
life like a
And
bad?
I go, buddy, you're supposed to underwrite a policy here,
Yeah,
not smoke a drug. All right, let's wake up.
right.
It's 2:00. Come on." Hey, it's Jacob. It was Manhattan
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
Horrible.
you're the guy that's underwriting this policy that says if somebody's healthy or not?
Yeah.
Because what you do, once you finish the application, you call in, they have the instant underwriting. You know what I do when I call in, I'm like, oh God, I hope it's not him. They go, hey, welcome to Manhattan.
Oh,
Click.
no.
We're going to call back in 2 minutes and find somebody else here.
Uh-huh.
And then you click, and they're like, hey, this is Chelsea with Manhattan Life. And I go, hello.
Right.
Hello, lively person here that seems like they are coherent
Yeah.
and can do it. But that's just, one thing I see with underwriters is that, I do carry with vendettas, but I also do too. When they help me out, I want to make sure that they feel appreciated
Yeah.
and thank them a lot. But you run into stuff before. Look at what I'm going through with Mutual of Omaha right now. With everything this morning, I totally forgot I have to call the under 65 lady back today, and we have to yell at Omaha because they lie. They're lying to us. There is nothing in that phone interview. There is absolutely nothing. It is the fact that they do not want to insure somebody who is under 65 that qualifies underwritten.
Yeah.
That qualifies. That's the key word.
Yeah.
She qualifies for it, and they don't want to give it to her. I've had run-ins with just about everybody. I've had an issue with Cigna and their dental plan before where I went so far. This is one of my favorite guys to work with here. He's never going anywhere, but we battled this thing for like 2 months. We went so far as to getting the Cigna head coder for dental billing on the phone with me, with the policyholder, and with the billing office manager. And them two got in a screaming match.
yeah.
And me and Fred just sat back.
I remember that.
And they were going off on each other. But it was one where we did so much. We were so worried about this stupid deep cleaning and the codes that they were using. And they said, hey, here is the policy, schedule policy fee, whatever it is. Okay. This is what it's going to be. And so me and him, we called Cigna and we say, look, we need to know what this code and how it's going to be covered. And they say that's going to be covered under basic coverage. So you are going to be covered, 80% for it, 80, 90% for it for this cleaning. You're going to be okay. But what happens when they, and we confirm it. We say, okay, can you confirm that? And I go, okay, did you hear that? Because I heard it. Okay, so go ahead and do it. Perfect. So we're not going to have any surprises. We have surprises. You go and get it done, and it's now major. Stuff like that. Companies don't realize that. Companies do not realize how much those little interactions actually turn away good agents. Because after that, I tell you, I was snake bitten from anybody that I talk to that's like, yeah, I got to do some deep cleanings. And I'm like, I know I can't do Cigna because they're just going to screw them. Same thing with Manhattan. And I almost said his name because it starts with an M too. But with the underwriter guy, I don't want to work with the guy that's stoned out of his mind. It doesn't have a bit of personality, that is just monotone and seems like he doesn't care and he doesn't know what he's doing. The company is lying to the policyholder in that situation or the applicant in that situation because you think I'm going to get a serious person from this company that has my health records in front of them and they have a button that says yes or no. And they're deciding on if I save money with my supplemental plan. And you get some guy that's high out of his mind and has no idea what he's saying. You're supposed to get the person who is deciding this to be coherent, to have some charisma to them, something behind them, strength in their voice.
Right state of mind.
They're in the right state of mind. This is you and this guy deciding your health, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's the best that you can do. Yeah. The applicants feel lied to. Like, how is this guy doing this?
Well, yeah, you have a rogue underwriter almost playing God, them deciding whether the applicant is healthy enough. When no, they should be, their job is to underwrite based on guidelines that the carrier has set, not what they think of the applicant.
speaking of which, I'm going to ask Grip here in a second. This is my funniest one. I'm calling out all the carriers today. Okay.
We're pulling the curtain.
I'm pulling the curtain here.
Right.
Did I hear you? I might have to say this off the record. Have you never seen Wizard
No,
of
I've
Oz?
never seen
Yeah,
it.
it's
I don't-
shameful.
I don't, I
It's
don't,
shameful.
I don't watch
We
movies.
have
need
to
to have a
break
watch
it down
party.
into 30-minute
So-
increments for him. He watches
That's
three
so
nights,
true.
three
Yes.
nights in a row.
Okay,
And there's got to be like a stand-up comedian in there. Just
Right,
Just
right.
mix in
Just
some.
cute, funny
that is
things.
ridiculous. Okay, so go ahead. So we're doing a Wizard Behind the Curtain.
So this was my most Wizard Behind the Curtain ever. And again, too, it is with Manhattan Life in their underwriting department.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I called, and this lady got declined.
Uh-huh.
I go, what did she get declined for? Tell me. And they go, well, it wasn't for something on the application. And I go,
What?
what?
What an answer.
They go, yes, it was something in our own questions that aren't on the application that is the reason
No.
she had declined. And I go,
No, sir. No, sir.
can you say that again to me on a recorded line?
Thank you. Yeah.
That this applicant was declined not by the application, but by your own set of questions. You're not allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that. You can have certain guidelines, like we talked about diabetes with medication, and for like the duration that you take and how many you take like that. But you just can't say, man, I really hated this guy in this phone interview. I'm just going to decline it. And I was baffled. I mean, I climbed up. I went full Karen mode on that one.
You were
Good.
flummoxed.
I was just
Yeah.
dumbfounded that when I asked them why did they get declined, they go, "Oh, it wasn't for anything in the application." Were they rude to you?
Well, what
Did
was
you
it
not like
then?
their name? What's wrong?
You
Could
didn't
not
ask was
spell
it what it wasn't. What was it?
Yeah, what was it? They go, well, there's a certain, we have a list of certain questions that we like to ask in our underwriting process. And I was like, what's the condition? And they gave me the condition, and that condition's not on the declinable conditions list.
Hmm.
But then they can play it off and say, well, that list is just an idea of what's
Well,
declinable.
that's
Just because
what's
it's not on that
declinable.
list doesn't mean it's not declinable.
Guess what? If the client is contractually obligated to answer those questions honestly, the carrier is contractually obligated to state their parameters to qualify.
Exactly. So, Stephen, give
Right.
us an example. We can go back to client, and you can talk company here.
Yeah.
I can stop taking shots at
Yeah.
companies for now.
So before we go, did you update on your stick it to the man story yet? From yesterday.
No, he's
No,
going
I've
to
been
call
doing
this
this.
afternoon.
I listened, then we had
I've been waiting to hear what's going on.
well, we had the dental guy here.
Okay, that's
So
right.
me and Brad had to hop in here. Then I got on an hour call with Justice.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I haven't had any problems with any carriers as serious as that. But what I have noticed is certain carriers over time are starting to really tighten up on questions. They're really starting to understand that, okay, in this Medicare supplement business, we are on the hook for their bills. So now, especially with one that's been around forever, you could be approved for anything for that particular carrier. But now they're like, this is, we're starting to lose money on this. So now they're starting to change behind the scenes their declinable drug list. You know, it's so funny that you have these carriers that have, your application questions and your declinable drug list. Sometimes they don't match. And what's very frightening for me, I get very animated, like I'm on.
It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's good.
Like a
What's very
puppeteer.
frightening for me
Because you're a
is
teacher.
why don't they put that together? Why don't they say, look, I'm going to have questions that are written that are also going to be connected to the actual drugs that we're declining for? That's what blows my mind, because I've had a couple that are like, oh, they got declined because on the report they take this medication. Oh, well, then why don't you put that on your health questions? Because none of the health questions pertain to that particular drug.
Right.
And also a lot of times too, when I did a lot of training, this gets me so flummoxed.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are drugs out there that serve multiple purposes,
right.
like gabapentin. Gabapentin is one of the most ambiguous drugs because it's diagnosed, it is prescribed for people who have neuropathy. That's what it's mainly prescribed for. It's a pain reliever for neuropathy. But it's also for other circumstances as well that are not declinable. For example, restless leg syndrome. Doctors, if you have
Anxiety.
if you have like a little itch in your leg and you're like, I can't sleep, my leg is twitchy, they'll prescribe gabapentin and it helps.
I've also seen it as anxiety medication.
Yes.
My cat was prescribed it for anxiety, and I'm like, okay, he's less than a year old.
Maggie.
He's going to have to learn to get over it, and he did.
You know what's so
He
funny
doesn't do it anymore.
is Maggie she got prescribed gabapentin one time for her hips.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, this is our old dog Shiner got prescribed gabapentin for anxiety.
Right. It's
And
crazy.
I'm just like, does this actually work?
It
we're like,
freaks my cat out. He
there's
slept,
some,
so I was
They're
no,
like,
So,
oh, there's some reality.
I've been burned a couple times where they're like, oh yeah, they're fine with anxiety, but they take gabapentin, so we have to decline it. It's like,
So it's a nerve condition
it's
now.
like there's no diabetes, there's no neuropathy.
Right.
They have no history of it. They take it for anxiety or for restless leg syndrome, but you're going to decline them because they take gabapentin. Then say that on the application.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that gets my goat.
Yeah, for sure. That would be one Brad would be appealing and appealing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I actually did the opposite, where I was prescribed medication by a veterinarian.
What?
Did it work?
Oh my God. Was it legal?
Yeah.
Yes. Because we were talking about dogs. You
Is this
prescribed medication.
Is this that COVID medication that they were giving to horses that Brad Jenkins?
No. I had strep throat a couple of years ago, and I couldn't get in to see my PCP. And my friend, who was a veterinarian, I was bitching to him about that I couldn't see my doctor. He says, "What's wrong?" I said, "I have strep throat." He says, I can prescribe
Same
your
amoxicillin.
Where
I
do you
can
think
prescribe
they did all the
amoxicillin.
research to
Yeah.
find out if it works or not on the
Pick a
dogs?
dog name and I'll send it to the pharmacy under
That is the craziest.
I was like, you're the best.
And it works.
Because it's only, you're just getting
Antibiotics.
amoxicillin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same antibiotics.
Yeah. I think wow.
But like on that
There's
episode
so much to
where
dissect.
Kramer
Here's
goes
the
to
question.
vet to
Here's
be
the question. What was your dog name?
I think it was
Dog
like
name.
Annie or something weird. Like it was just something.
Aw,
dumb
you
or
had a
just
nice
something,
dog.
Yeah. That's
And I had
so.
to recite it to myself as I went to the pharmacy.
I'm here to pick up amoxicillin for my dog. What kind of dog you got? Shoot.
He's just got it written here. Just Annie, golden retriever,
It is
9.
a big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe that.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now everyone
Don't say
knows what's
your
behind
vet's
it.
name. We don't want to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good friend though. Very
Good.
appreciated.
Good.
I feel like I want to end on that
Yeah.
just because of how good that is. But
Yeah.
I'm like, man, we were really like sticking to the man today. Like
Yeah.
fight the power.
Yeah.
And then now we're all just giggling.
Right.
Yeah.
Got the best of
Well,
So
I think if I could make a suggestion, let's think about how this week went because we're going to start new on Monday. Do you think that if I was a brand new agent, because I did 2 today, like brand new agents ready to start their career. If we were to say to them, hey, you should really watch our Wizard of Oz series on this past week on our dojo, do you think it would be helpful for them?
Oh, yeah. It goes over every foundation that you need, almost like the dojo where I drew the house for all the new people that we had. You're really nothing without a foundation, and that's a tale as old as time. That's always going to go. Every home builder, every time you start a company, every time you start a new job, everybody always talks about the foundation, but it's true. It really is. If you don't start off correct, or if you don't start off right or on the right foot, you're not going in the right direction.
Right.
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Well, you're still making progress. If you take 1 step forward and 18 steps sideways, you're not building anything. You're not growing to anything. That's what we've been preaching on before, that we're talking about growth here, people. It's not just read the script now. You got to really start diving in and wanting to learn, because you have to grow your foundations before baby bird flies the nest.
Mhm. That's why you got to hit it hard if you're not an agent now, because when you're an agent, you better hustle it because it's up to you, baby, at that point.
Mhm. So I think through the whole series, you're talking about courage, wisdom. Give me some more Oz.
Dude,
things.
come on. It's brains,
Brains,
heart,
heart,
and
Courage.
courage,
Please,
and curtains.
Please watch Wizard of Oz.
We gotta have a
And
watch
there
party.
has to be adequate oil for
That
the system
is-
to
Do
work
you,
well.
do you want to hear something crazy?
Hmm.
This is what I'll end on here.
Please.
Besides
So
the not
two
having
movies.
watched
Besides
Wizard of
not
Oz.
having watched it,
Mhm.
2 movies here. What do you think the last movie I saw in theater was?
In the theater?
God.
In the theater.
Juwanna Man.
Oh, wow.
I have seen that. That's a great movie.
That's
Um,
blast from the past. Wow.
Wizard of Oz is front to back a wonderful.
Have you ever
so is
seen-
Joanna Man.
Have you ever
Um,
seen?
I've never seen Wizard of Oz either.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go.
my
That's
But
why
okay,
I'm a huge fan of Judy Garland, but it's like a required watching.
I've never seen.
That's the only Judy Garland.
You want me to
movie
blow
I've
your mind
seen.
again? Never seen Star Wars either.
I mean, that's one of my favorite, but it's accepted because that's kind of nerdy. Like you don't want to.
But so take a guess. What do you think the last movie I saw? You'd actually be kind of surprised.
How
by
long
last
ago
movie
was
I
Fast
saw.
and Furious 7.
No, never seen any Fast and Furious.
Good.
Not a car guy. It was the Dark Knight.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Wow.
That's the first one.
the very first one. Yes, with Heath Ledger. That was the
God,
last
that was
movie
a
I saw
while
in
ago.
theaters. Now, guess the most recent movie I've watched
At home?
at home. This is like 4 or 5 months ago or so.
The Batman movie after that one.
No, the 2012 Iron Man. I never
Oh,
saw it
okay.
before,
Yeah.
but it was just on TV, and it was like, yeah, okay, I just put it on. And I started doing other stuff. I was like, oh, it was actually kind of interesting.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
you're busy, man. You got a life
So-
and you're running around.
Yeah,
So.
so my movie genre is 2012 through like that was. I don't even
Have you
remember
ever seen
Dark
Gone with
Knight.
the Wind? Bet
No
not.
idea what that is.
Oh my
Is that a
God.
musical?
He spends
That's a
too much
musical?
time.
Let's
taking
end. Please
Miller
end there.
back and
Please.
forth to that.
Let's end there before he does any more damage.
Is that a musical?
Not at all.
No.
Do you know it is one of the best movies ever?
Classical.
My top 2 favorite movies: Rent and Signs. So that is
Those are-
where we're
what
going
a-
to end today.
Please do.
So,
Glad you
wow.
slashed you a bride
Thank you,
already.
everybody,
Rick was on board.
for watching and listening. We actually did go over some very good stuff today.
Mhm.
So I appreciate it. Y'all have a great weekend. Stay safe. And some of the weather, I know it's getting kind of nasty here too. If it is affecting you, hurricane, blizzard, heat. Take care. If you're an agent too, go sell something. But everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend. Thanks, guys.
Okay, this is how we make it fun.
25,600 minutes.
You watch The Wizard of Oz with friends, but you do it. What is it? The shot game. Whenever they say like
It's so-
courage, you shot. You know.
I broke the fourth wall.
Oh, sure.
I need a little microphone. So you like the guy in control.
You were
There's stuff. Good job, guys. That was great. Thank you.
You were the sheep or whatever you were talking about.
Here. Here. Done, 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 done. 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 Let's we're not gonna post it. When